Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our final episode of Buildertrend's financial series. Again, my name is Reece Barnes. I'm an additional training consultant here at Buildertrend, and I'm joined with my co-host, Zach Witovich. Zach, how's it going?
Good, Reese. Last one today, huh?
Yep.
All
Hopefully,
right.
hopefully they extend our contract. We get more of
Yeah.
some more projects. Maybe do like a
Get
project
some
management
get
series,
some
sales
syndication,
series.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get some royalties. That'd be great.
That
Yeah.
would be good. We'll keep
Speaking of
building on it.
maximizing your profits, how to get syndicated.
Uh, did you? That was good.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about how to outline what data can be reported on in Buildertrend. I guess I jumped over that completely. This is going to be emphasized, this final series, or this episode rather, is going to be on reporting. We're going to talk about the data that you actually can report on in Buildertrend, as well as discussing how to start implementing reporting within Buildertrend. There's going to be a lot of good pieces here because on a lot of my sales calls, especially, people are very curious and interested in obviously reporting on the data that they're putting in Buildertrend. So as far as that, Zach, where are we starting and where do you want to start actually directing the listeners?
Yeah, I think whenever we use the word report, we have to kind of take a step back and think about what are reports and what are we using them for? At the end of the day, it's a way to aggregate information, data to make important decisions about what happened with this job and
Right.
where are we moving forward. Now, when we're talking about reporting in QuickBooks, there is a slight difference. The most common report we're going to see people using is what's called the profit and loss report. So
The
Reese,
P&L,
yeah, Reese, if you were going back to that budget example way back in episode 1,
burritos.
yes, right. If you were making that
Yeah.
report for the month and you were trying to track the how much money you made at the end of the job or the job or the month for you in that case, excuse me, you can see the bottom line of what was your takeaway, what did I spend, what did I make, and that's my ultimate gross income in that particular project or budget. And that's what the P&L report is very commonly used for. It's just a way for a company to get a quick snapshot with all their considerations. The balance sheet is kind of like your company health. And so Buildertrend is not trying to take those reports out of the way you do things. And I think that's really important. What you are gaining out of the Buildertrend side is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be missing some important information like your payroll. If you're using a third-party service to track that and it goes in your QuickBooks, right?
Sure.
Those types of things are going to be bigger picture, large scale. This is what is happening for my company. So what are you
Well,
getting out of Buildertrend? Yeah, go ahead.
and I was just going to say, you might touch on this. I might be a little early. But the big thing is really understanding what reporting and information you're wanting to take from Buildertrend and what information or reporting you're wanting to take from QuickBooks, because
Right.
we hear a lot of people that we touched on, even on the QuickBooks integration episode. Some people definitely talk about QuickBooks Desktop having better reporting than QuickBooks Online, when in reality, that is just simply not the case. The reality is you have to be looking in the right place for that reporting. So really understanding why you're looking for what you're looking for and where you're going to find it is a big piece of this.
And who is going to use those reports?
Right.
The typical person who's pulling the P&L is going to be the people at the very top of the company. They might share that with their project managers. But there's information in Buildertrend that can be used by other people to help inform decisions. So it's just a way to supplement kind of what you're looking at. And it can be a little tough to demonstrate some of these things without looking at the program. So if you're listening right now, highly recommend that you think about what we're saying and take some action on it to follow up with the channels that we offer. Set up a phone call with your onboarding specialist, reach out to support and ask some questions. But I really
Reach
wanted
out
to
to me
outline, reach out to Reece Barnes,
for financial
and
consulting.
we can talk about some financial consulting and get some one-on-one time with someone who kind of does this day in and day out. And there was really key areas that I wanted to highlight as far as these are the things that you should be thinking about when you're trying to report. Now in Buildertrend, we have that reports tab, and that has a lot of great things in it, but it also has things that aren't necessarily what I'm talking about today. These are kind of your Buildertrend 301 type reports that kind of are hidden in plain sight. They're all up at the front, but you have to learn some of the advanced ways to do it, you know?
And I think that's definitely important to note on is we get a lot of clients that they're used to a program or a software that's going to be, I hit a button that says
Hit a
report
button.
and
Easy.
it sends it out. When in reality, it's more important to look at what information am I trying to get,
Right.
and then what method am I getting it. We're going to touch on the different ways that you can actually find and build reporting into Buildertrend that's not going to be under the reports tab, but like Zach had already alluded to, where
Yeah.
am I finding this information? Where is it hidden? And actually what am I trying to
And,
extract
and
from it?
we'll even give you some action items here of kind of like, where would I start? If I were starting my company tomorrow and I was trying to maximize my infrastructure of how Buildertrend is working, this is where I would go to make sure things would run smoothly from here on out. And that's the other thing. These things I'm talking about, or will talk about, are easily set up. You'll be able to reuse them again and again, but you kind of have to find your way into it at some point in order to start unlocking what's really there.
Right.
So budget is the first one. Now in Buildertrend, there is a budget tab, and it's pretty easy to get confused because you might think how you run your budget is how the system would actually run its budget, and that isn't necessarily the case. So you want to keep in mind that that budget in Buildertrend is exclusively for internal budgeting. A lot of people want to use that budget for their customer, and I understand why they want to do that. Cost plus builder, be transparent, but it leads to miscommunication, confusion. Builder cost is what is always going to be in that budget when you're looking at it, Reece. And
Okay.
then compared to your expenses with your subcontractors and other bills that you're paying out to different vendors as the project is progressing. So
Right.
that budget tab is the most commonly looked at page for people that are using the financials, but a lot of people don't actually take the time to sit and read kind of how is it
Know what's
doing
going
its
on.
thing. Exactly. At the bottom right-hand corner, it gives you a nice little summary table that says job running total. That means your total contract plus change orders plus any adjustments, the final number that your customer is going
Price
to
per
pay,
square foot.
right? If you filled out your price per, if you filled out your square
Whoa.
footage,
Whoa.
you have to take the time to fill out that field.
Okay.
You know, there's something to be said about doing things the right way. But when you set up a job, if you just don't leave it, or if you don't fill out that square footage, how's a program going to know what the cost per square foot is?
Right.
It can't. You have to put how much square footage is in it and what the contract price is. But you're right. If you do fill out that square footage option when you were creating the job, then it will have that calculation for you.
Nice.
It also has total costs, and total cost means all expenses that you filled out to that point. That's the misleading thing about that summary table at the bottom of the budget, is it's only really accurate at the end of the job, right? Because it's starting with
Okay.
the total and it's
Right.
subtracting your expenses. So it's going to whittle your
Gotcha.
gross profit down as you go. So at the start of the job, you haven't entered any expenses yet, and you're like, look at my gross profit. And that's kind of the danger of sharing it with the customers a little too early, or right from the beginning, because they're going to look at that and be like, whoa, you're making 100% margin on
Yeah.
my
Yeah, we
project.
are.
Yeah,
This is a
right.
great job for us.
And the vast majority of people don't show the budget. But for those of you listening that do, you have to
Understood.
understand it's not for the customer, it's for you. But at the end of the day, that budget is a report. And there's some cool things you can do with it that kind of loops into my second point, which is known as job grouping, right?
I love this feature. I don't know near enough about it. I think from what I do know, it makes a ton of sense. So what do you
It kind
have?
of goes back to what I said about filling out the square footage. Job grouping is easily missed, not a required field, and often ignored as far as what it's there for. When you're setting up a job in Buildertrend, you know you have to enter the job name, and then you have to fill out the job type. And this always confuses people because they're like, oh, well, this doesn't fit exactly my project type. That's just for Buildertrend's internal reporting purposes, so that we can run data reports on the types of projects that our builders are doing, so we can cater features based off the volume of
Sure.
different remodels, new construction. It's a little in the weeds. Job groups are totally customizable, and they're one spot below job type. The power in job grouping is I can say, all right, I do additions and I do kitchen remodels. When I'm looking at a budget for a job, I can say my job list include just this particular job group, just my kitchen remodels.
Nice.
And then I can click all listed jobs and look at the budgets across all the different job types. So now I'm
Love it.
getting big picture. How profitable was I on kitchens last year? How profitable was I on additions? If I'm a new home construction company, you might have plans. Well, a great way to have job groups are what is the plan type or
Right.
the plan layout, the lavender and the Hamilton or whatever,
The mahogany.
Yes, yeah. There's some creative names. I do people get degrees on like naming plans? Or,
I
like, is
might
that
as
the
well.
architect?
It's
I've
like
never asked anybody about
Stonebrook.
that. Yeah.
Stonebrook.
Um, and so that is how you can kind of again unlock the potential by taking a little extra time to think about, okay, what job groups do I want? Then when I'm filling out my job, making sure I tag that job with the job group and then learning how to filter my jobs list in order to display that job group. So that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it
It kind of
does.
seems like a big ask, but it's not. This is stuff that people look at every day. They just don't realize it that they're looking at it. It's literally in the same drop down and it's on the jobs list and it just gives you so much more control over how that information is going to be displayed. And what's cool is it doesn't just apply to the budget. So maybe I want to see all my expenses from the bills and POs tab across all my jobs. And I want to narrow that down to maybe a specific vendor that I purchased a lot of money or a lot of supplies from. If I want to look at all the POs for Bill's Lumberyard, I can click all listed jobs, Bill's POs, and then everything will pull up and it'll even give me a total of how much I've paid versus how much I've contracted with him. That is really understanding the big picture of the program and why you're putting information in it, because ultimately you're going to be able to find things within the account using those filters and those grid settings and the way that you kind of unlock everything as you get comfortable with these things that we're talking about.
For sure. And that's even just a couple examples come to mind, but that is the important piece of understanding this isn't going to be a button that we click and Buildertrend automatically knows what you want to report on.
Yeah.
There's going to be some legwork in the front end, but for the people that are adamant about having the most accurate reporting that they can, it's going to require some upfront work. It's going to require some upfront work. It's going to understand the full capability of what am I doing and why am I doing it, so that I can see if I'm doing additions and bath remodels.
Yep.
And I'm pulling at the overall group of the year and I'm looking at my margins and what it actually cost me and what I was making money on. And I can say remodels used to be, or bathroom remodels used to be 25, 50% of my business. I'm going to scale that back this year to 25 and I'm going to pick up the gap on additions because I'm making more there, whatever the case
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
So that makes a ton of sense, but that's the big thing is Buildertrend isn't going to know what to give you if the information isn't in there.
Yeah, and that's part of the process when you're onboarding these things, is trying to keep as many of those things in mind while you're getting it off the ground, such as who's using this, who's
Right.
going to benefit from doing it. And so many times I'll go to offices and people are in the room discussing how they want to do things, and it's like they've never even talked to each other.
Right.
I'm asking questions like, do you need this cost code? Have you ever done this filter? How do you guys run the handoff between sales and the production to accounting? And it's just like, well, we've always just kind of done it this way. And like, it's kind of interesting, like, where do those processes come from? Take a step back and really think about how is that transition going to happen, and then document it. But
You have
also,
to.
yeah, and set up the infrastructure in Buildertrend so that it's easy to use too. So, the job groupings, don't rely on your employees to add them for you. Go into the system and add it for them so that they're able to use it when you need them to. Don't
Right.
don't rely on them to figure out how to operate the budget. Get a training with our team and have everybody in the room to talk about how the budget, right? And then follow up with us to make sure that you're understanding how that implementation is going. You have to just kind of think about from their perspective. If you just kind of lay it on their lap, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get it off the ground and change their habits to get that reporting features that they want. And it goes with anything in the system. Like, we could be talking about scheduling, and that's just sound fundamentals, right? Making it as easy for them to use. But grid settings and filters are a big portion of that, so you don't have to worry about it later.
this all circles back to one of our earlier conversations. I can't remember what episode it was. Um, I think it was cost codes. I think it was the very first one. When you're getting your team involved, this
Yeah.
isn't one person deciding all of this. This is a strategic move to make it easier for your team and who's going to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Another cool feature that a lot of people never get into is this idea of variance codes.
Okay.
And
I've
and
heard it all the time. Don't know all
yeah,
the details.
and it gets confusing because when you sign up for Buildertrend, we already have variance codes in the program. We just give them to you out of the box. It's
Right.
not like the other cost codes that you can import. These are just defaulted in the system when you sign up for Buildertrend. Well, with these variance codes, think of it as like a flag. Okay. You get a
Okay.
bill and you know that that bill is over, but you don't want to forget about it down the project. By applying a variance code to it, it actually will flag it in the budget and move the costs into the variance column. Well, now it does a calculation where it
Okay.
says, hey, on this particular item, you estimated that it was going to be $1,000. It came in at 1,100 and you flagged $100 of it as a variance. That'll tell you, hey, that was a 10% overage on that bill. Then you can lay that across all your projects. So going back to that job type that we just discussed, I want to see my kitchens and I want to look at my budget. Now I can see all the variance additions, or excuse me, variance expenses separated from my actual expected expenses, and see this project had 3-4% variance. Think about how powerful that is. My experience, less than 5% of users have even A, heard about variances, B, are using them effectively.
Right.
And that's just another testament to the features of Buildertrend that people just never get into because they just are a little bit hesitant or they're a little unsure.
Sure.
But it really does help you tighten up those margins just a little bit. And then you can start finding patterns. Okay, I'm going to go to my bills POs. I'm going to filter by variance codes. I'm going to see how many variances I've had in the last 6 months. And I can see how much those variants cost me in real dollar amounts as
Right.
well. And all it was a little flag inside the bill. All I had to do was check a box, all right, and say this was a variance.
That pays for
Little,
your Buildertrend.
absolutely,
That
absolutely,
pays for a part-time employee. That
yeah,
pays for whatever.
right. And if you do discover it's a vendor relationship issue and it's always the same situation, now you can start
Have a conversation.
having a conversation or maybe looking for a new vendor as a means to save money in the long run. So that when we say reporting, it's just about that manipulation of the data and how a
Sure.
little bit of extra work while you're doing the data entry can really pay dividends in the back end, which ultimately that's our goal, is to help companies save money where they can, and even just take care of that you know subscription fee by saving them that cost. I actually at one point had a builder that caught a $30,000 variance because of our budgeting
Oh,
system, right? It paid
nice.
for our visit, and the Buildertrend subscription, just by a little bit of due diligence and teaching him how to pay attention while he's entering those numbers.
Sure. No, I love it. And that's why Buildertrend is, yes, a software, but when we claim to be our clients as partners, you're partnering with Buildertrend to make yourself a better business.
Right.
That's where it comes from, because so many people look at it as storing documents, photos, time clocks, using some of
And
the schedule. It's
those are
like
important, right?
very,
Yeah.
very. But what I'm getting at is if there is hesitancy or bandwidth on the client's end of not having time to dive into the details of this or really apply this, there is a monetary return tied to
Yeah.
it. And that's where, again, whether you are working more and investing more time with our customer support, or you are moving forward and utilizing our financial consulting or on-site consulting, yes, there might be an upfront cost, but what's the return?
Right.
What's the return, and what does that actually look like from an efficiency and a tighter business standpoint? I'll let you
Yeah.
keep going.
And no, sometimes it takes a while for the vision to come into play. When you get into a new
Absolutely.
software, it's like whether you've been using Buildertrend for 5 years or 2 months, if you're listening to this, I've seen it across the board, the spectrum of there are going to be light bulb moments when you start to undertake these financial features and really kind of see the potential of what it has.
Right.
So where do we start? How do we begin to do this?
You got to learn how the
Especially from
budget works.
Yeah, and that's the step number one of reporting, is really understanding deeply what that budget is doing, how it works, and what happens. And one thing I kind of glossed over is, in this episode, at least, if you're listening just to this one, your budget is the estimate. So if you get your estimate in some shape or form, whether you're importing it or you're just building it within the sales side and converting it, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's your budget. It's already done.
Right.
But when you look at the budget page, there's a lot of data that's in
A lot of
those columns.
columns.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you really want to start there. Go watch the videos in the help center. Call support, right? Make sure that that is clear. And then from there, start thinking about setting up those job groups, okay? And getting that next piece and then layering on top of it. And then from there, there's a tab in the program that I think is just criminally underrated. And it's likely because of the naming of it kind of confuses people, which I understand. It's called the PO payments tab. And
Okay.
what it really is the transaction tab. It tracks what is happening from an exchanging of money side of things. So on a PO, for example, we talked about POs in our job costing episode. I can make 3-4 payments against that PO. But if I go to the PO payments tab, I'm going to see each payment as its own record.
Love that.
So now I can kind of dig in and see, like, on this payment, there was a variance. On this payment, there wasn't. And also here's upcoming transactions because I've scheduled a payment. So, then you can set up those filters and reports and dig into how you're going to utilize that to make decisions about cash flow, right? Because again, remember, you can view this across all your jobs. There's some really powerful tools in that PO payments tab. That's where I would go after getting my budget established and getting my job groups. And
PO
then from
payments.
there, walk your users through how to use it. Sit down with your bookkeeper, with your employee, whoever, and show them how to use those filters. Did you know that you can, customize the columns? Did you know that you can save these filters? This will save people time and annoyance, because whenever the page reloads, like the filter they had set up disappeared. You can eliminate all of that. And this
Right.
format doesn't allow me to show that, but just for the listeners out there, believe me, you can easily dictate these settings with just a quick 5-minute conversation, so that you're able to just again and again reuse the same information, the same data. Sorry, I'm on a rant.
No, I love it. And that's, again, not to be redundant, but to absolutely be redundant. Call in to unlimited customer support.
Yep.
That's why we have it. We want our clients to succeed and use as much of the program as they can that's going to help them run a better business. If these are the things that you're interested in, or you don't have the time in, or necessarily the interest, talk to consulting. We can help take that off your plate. We have so many different channels for success that again, these are money saving, directly correlating to your business, impacting decisions.
Exactly. So let's wrap this up. We've spent a lot of time with the people out there, and now it's time to say goodbye. And it's not goodbye, really. It's the start of a journey, right?
It's the start of a journey.
Yeah. Now,
changing the way the world builds.
Exactly. A better way.
A better way.
So if I had to start somewhere, obviously I would start with my cost codes. Look at that, take a hard, deep look at how we can tighten those up, make things work more efficiently, eliminate codes that are unnecessary. And then I would have a conversation with my team to discuss who is going to be entering this data into the program, who's responsible for uploading the budget, right? Who is responsible for entering bills and POs in a Buildertrend? How are we going to communicate this from one group to the next? Outline it, write it down. I literally sat with a guy in New Jersey once and helped him define what a project manager looks like for his company.
Love it.
And he had never done it. He'd been in construction for decades and had never really outlined, this is what we want to do. And I think that's just part of good business, is saying, here is your job expectation, and this is how it works.
If you don't set the expectation, you as the owner or manager cannot hold your team accountable. You can't. It'll be a double standard. They don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect. Common knowledge is not supposed to be in the job description.
Right. And sometimes these things adapt on the fly.
Right.
Obviously, people wear a lot of hats in the construction industry, but you still can have a general rule of thumb about who is going to do this information in Buildertrend, and make sure that it's if that person ever leaves, that it's an easy plug and play when you're hiring a new person, to say, here's the expectation of what our user that you're replacing does. This is the
Right.
system we use, and here's how they used it. Keep people in mind in those conversations that you're having. Like changing cost codes can be a really scary thing, especially if it's being used across multiple departments. They want to have input. I always tell people, don't rush. Have a team meeting, have it out.
Right.
Don't leave the room until that everybody can live with the decisions that are made. Because people are ultimately going to want different things. They have different goals as far as
Right.
what they're trying to accomplish. Find the common ground and make sure you have those conversations. And then after you get those cost codes, pick which feature to start with. We've covered 6 episodes worth of content. We're not recommending you try to tackle them all at once.
Not at all.
We want to lay it out there for people to know, hey, this is your buffet of options, but you pick and choose which you think are going to have the biggest return on your investment and your time spent, if that makes sense. And it's going to take time to really learn deeply about these procedures, these financial features. Keep Buildertrend in the back of your mind. We know how to get people to use this. We have experience training people on the program, obviously, and we see it from all different types of businesses. I've worked with cabinet companies, flooring companies, landscaping companies, remodelers, new home constructor, commercial contractors. There's always a way, with a little bit of conversation and a little bit of experience, people can successfully get these things ready to roll.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is even if priorities shift every single day for all of our clients, everyone always gets excited, they get hyped up, they want to use more of Buildertrend. I always say it's like anything else that you're wanting to do better at, whether it's working out or building your business. You have to allow and build the time in of this is my Buildertrend time, whether it's lunch or 4 p.m. on a Friday or whatever it is.
Team meetings, talk about
Team
it.
meetings, lunch
Build
and
it in.
learns, have the conference room, order in some sandwiches, get the whole crew in and say, this is the project management team. We're going to go over scheduling today. This is what we're going to be focusing on.
Yep.
It has to be a part of your business. And so many people, it's tough to make that time, but once you do make that commitment and you do understand that Buildertrend is going to help you get to where you want to be, whether that's working less hours, working for more margin, scaling your business, hiring more people, whatever that is, Buildertrend will be a crucial piece in that. It's very capable. It definitely takes some effort though.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've
Is
said
this
it all,
it?
Reece.
I mean,
That was a lot of fun.
I really don't have much more to say, which is
Nope.
a rarity.
Yeah,
But
hopefully it'll bring us back, for our listeners out there. Maybe we'll get a
yeah,
little fan club going.
yeah, that'd be good. We'll start a Facebook page.
Yeah.
We'll start a hashtag, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I have to talk to marketing first, but we might be able to do it. For the final time, are you gonna do the sign off? I don't even know. We used to have a good sign off. Did we ever have a sign off? Do the sign off.
Yeah, we'll worry about that later on the next one. Thanks everybody. We're calling it. Really appreciate your time, and best of luck to you moving forward.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Buildertrend's financial series. If you would like to learn more about Buildertrend's financial features, don't hesitate to reach out to your customer support team at Buildertrend. If you would like one of Buildertrend's consultants to assist you in implementing what Zach and I have discussed, please reach out to financialconsulting@buildertrend.com.